The sea howled a mournful song that night, a constant, chilling whisper against the granite cliffs. The waves crashed relentlessly against the base of the lighthouse, their rhythmic pounding a counterpoint to the unsettling silence within its stone walls. I remember the cold, the biting wind that seemed to penetrate my very bones, even through my thick wool coat. It was a night that clung to you, a night that tasted of salt and fear. This was my first night alone at the isolated North Point Lighthouse, a place whispered to be haunted, a place where the line between reality and nightmare blurred. What would you do if you were there, alone, on such a night? The lighthouse itself was imposing, a stark silhouette against the stormy sky. Its whitewashed walls, scarred by years of wind and rain, seemed to breathe with a life of their own. The air inside was thick with the smell of salt and damp stone, a musty odor that clung to the throat and filled the lungs with a chilling dampness. The spiral staircase, worn smooth by countless footsteps over the decades, creaked under my weight, each groan echoing through the empty tower like a ghostly sigh. Every step felt heavy, laden with the weight of untold stories. Do these sounds seem familiar? Do they evoke a sense of unease, a prickling on your skin? Initially, it was just the sounds, the groaning of the lighthouse itself, settling under the weight of the storm, the mournful cry of the gulls, circling overhead like spectral sentinels. But then there were other sounds, a faint scratching high in the lantern room, like something dragging itself across the metal, a low moan carried on the wind, seeming to emanate from the darkness beyond the thick glass panes. I tried to rationalize it, attributing the noises to the storm, to the settling of the old structure. But a growing sense of dread began to take root, a cold tendril coiling around my heart. One night, I was working late, charting the course of a distant freighter through the swirling fog. The rhythmic sweep of the light was my only companion, a comforting beacon in the growing darkness. Then it flickered, not a normal flicker, but a sudden, violent pulse, as if something had momentarily disrupted the power. My breath caught in my throat. The silence that followed was deafening, a stark contrast to the constant roar of the sea. It sent shivers down my spine. I felt a presence, a weight in the air, a palpable sense of being watched. Then I saw it. A shadow, fleeting and indistinct, moving in the periphery of my vision. It wasn't a trick of the light, not a mere figment of an overactive imagination. This was something real, something tangible, though I couldn't quite make out its form. It seemed to coalesce and dissipate, to exist and not exist simultaneously, like a ripple in a disturbed pool of water. I felt a cold draft, a sudden chill that had nothing to do with the storm, passing through the wall behind me. It left an icy trail in its wake. The following days were a blur of increasing unease. Objects moved, seemingly on their own. Books fell from shelves. Lamps swayed despite the absence of any breeze. The rhythmic sweep of the light became erratic, pulsing and dimming in a way that defied explanation. There were more sounds, more unsettling whispers, more shadows dancing in the corners of my eyes. I started to feel the weight of the lighthouse's history, untold stories of its keepers past, pressing down on me, suffocating me. We learned something about this house's past that chilled me to the bone. An old logbook, yellowed and brittle with age, detailed the tragic deaths of several previous keepers. Accidents, they were called. Falls from the tower, sudden illnesses, unexplained disappearances. But the descriptions hinted at something more sinister, something that defied logical explanation, something that whispered of a malevolent presence, a darkness that clung to the stone walls and the echoing corridors. One night, the storm reached a fever pitch. The wind howled like a banshee. The waves crashed with a terrifying fury. Inside the lighthouse, the flickering light cast grotesque shadows that danced and writhed on the walls. Suddenly, a cold hand grasped my shoulder. I spun around, expecting to see nothing, but there was a presence, a feeling of icy dread washing over me, as if the very air itself had turned to ice. I don't know how long I stood there, frozen in terror, but it felt like an eternity. What would you have done? The next morning, the storm had passed. The sun rose, painting the sky in hues of gold and rose. The sea was calm, the waves gentle. But the lighthouse felt different, emptier. The unsettling presence was gone, but the memory, the lingering chill, remained. The scratching ceased, but the silence felt heavy, profound, almost ominous. The lingering feeling of dread remained, a cold knot in the pit of my stomach. My time at North Point Lighthouse ended shortly after that. I couldn't stay. The experience left an indelible mark, a scar on my soul. The memories still haunt me, the sounds, the shadows, the chilling cold. I often wonder about the other keepers, the ones who disappeared, the ones whose stories remain untold. Were they victims of the storm, or something far more sinister? Something far more paranormal? The question lingers, a haunting echo in the silence. The question remains unanswered, a mystery shrouded in the mists of time and the chilling whispers of the sea. A mystery that perhaps will never be fully revealed. Even now, years later, I can still feel the cold, the dampness, the ever-present feeling of being watched. The sea still sings its mournful song, a constant reminder of that chilling experience. And sometimes, on stormy nights, I can almost hear the faint scratching. High in the lantern room, the lighthouse stands sentinel, a lonely guardian against the relentless sea. And within its walls, the echoes of the past remain, whispered on the wind, a testament to a darkness that lingers, waiting for its next victim, waiting for its next story to unfold. The story of the haunted lighthouse keeper, a story that continues to this day, a chilling tale that leaves you wondering what truly lies beyond the veil. What secrets does the ocean hold, and what lurks in the shadows of that lonely tower, waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to venture within its walls? The unanswered questions remain, a constant reminder of the unseen, the unknown, the unfathomable mysteries that lie just beyond our grasp. A chilling reminder of the darkness that dwells in the heart of the sea and in the heart of the lonely lighthouse. Are you listening? Can you hear it too?